Hi, my name is KeriKondracki. I am a missionary with MANNA Worldwide. I also build women's ministries, which are called Women of Worth Ministries. And I partner with MANNA in ministries primarily in Europe, but also in other locations around the globe. MANNA Worldwide is a nonprofit, Christian-based, faith-based organization that reaches children who are in poverty-stricken areas. We start feeding the children, we meet their physical needs, and then we meet their spiritual needs. We teach them about the love of Christ, and more importantly, we show them the love of Christ. And we also educate these children, and we provide opportunities to counsel them and mentor them. We connect them to churches. In fact, every MANNA Worldwide ministry is connected to a church plant, because when we introduce the children and their families to Christ, we want them to be able to worship and grow in their relationship with Him. I'm going to show you some slides today of the ministries that I oversee, including orphan care homes, and we have an orphan care home in Gorbovichi, Ukraine. And the first slide is our Smile House family home. This is a teenage home for girls and boys, but mostly girls, that we've been able to rescue from the streets of Kyiv, Ukraine. We bring them into our home. Our house parents, Nadia and Vova Rezmir, feel called to serve the orphans of Ukraine, and they pour into these children. And I've worked with these kids for 10 years, and I've seen them grow in the nurture and the love, and they thrive in this environment, and they learn how to give back. They learn how to pour into other children in need, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. At the start of the war, February 24th, when Russian tanks invaded Kyiv, Ukraine, our family of Smile House ended up hiding in their basement for the next 24 days until we could get them out. I flew to Romania, where we have another children's home called Father's House in the Carpathian Mountains of Cumberland, Romania. And I was there the night that our girls showed up at that house. They had driven from Ukraine. They were able to escape the war-torn country of Ukraine and get to a safe house of Father's House in Cumberland, where I met them, and we were able to reunite in another country. And those girls began to minister to about 31 Ukrainian refugees who had escaped Ukraine and had been able to come to our safe house in Romania, and they remained there for months ministering to people in need. We spent a lot of money every time we went to the grocery store. We filled multiple carts of supplies and food and clothing and shoes and things that were needed for the refugees who had to leave everything behind. We had plenty of beds. We had plenty of bathrooms in this home. We met the need in front of us. We met their needs and just poured into these families at a time that they really needed. We had prayed for the Lord to bring us children into our home in Romania, and we were thinking that it would be Romanian orphans and Romanian children, but the Lord had something else in mind. He actually prepared this home for Ukrainian children to find a safe place and to be in a location where they would begin to feel normal again. And so these are some of our kids from Ukraine, as well as some of our Romanian children that are living in that home in Romania. We also were able to be a blessing to the parents and the mothers that also needed some love and encouragement and peace and normalcy in their lives. We were able to feed them and host beautiful events for them where we could open the Word of God and just pour the truths found in His Word into the lives that were so broken and unsettled at that time. It was a wonderful time for all of the women involved, the Americans, the Romanians, and the Ukrainians that were living in that house. We had 49 that we were sheltering in that one location. And you know, the Lord gave us that house. Every time the Lord calls us to do something and to serve Him, He provides for our needs and He equips us for what we are about to do. And then He pours out His great blessings. All we have to do is just show up and be ready and be willing to meet the need in front of us. The Lord has allowed me to travel all throughout Romania. We have 13 projects in that country with MANNA Worldwide, including projects that focus on meeting the needs of women. And our Women of Worth conferences are such a wonderful time of encouragement and love and blessing and teaching and training and mentorship that we offer to women who are broken. Many of them are experiencing great loss and discouragement in ministry. A lot of our leaders that are pouring into the community, women and children, they themselves are in need of encouragement and love and just something to help them move on and take that next step to serve the Lord. So we offer Women of Worth conferences for the women in the communities. We also offer leadership training for the women who feel called to serve in their communities, including the women that you're looking at in these two pictures. These are women who minister in the southern region of Romania to a gypsy population in multiple areas. We have nutrition centers that feed children. We have schools. We have church plans. We have sustainable income projects where we have leaders, women who teach and train women in their community that need work, that need jobs, that need someone to come alongside of them and show them skills, teach them skills, teach them how to budget so that they can provide for their families. And that's something that our Women of Worth ministries offer. This particular group of women in Severin, Romania, are broken because they had a woman leader, a woman named MANNA who ran our ministries in Romania and oversees the projects on the ground. She's the mother and the grandmother to all of these ladies sitting in this room. And she had COVID last year, and she passed away from COVID. And the women were just broken, and they did not want to move on. They didn't want to go on. Their grief was so great that they could barely get out of bed. But what they needed to hear is that there's still work that needs to be done. And yes, there is a time to mourn. And you know what? There isn't a person in the world right now who hasn't been affected by the hardship of life or the hardships of life, including what we just went through with the last 2-3 years of COVID. A lot of us have lost. I have lost. And Satan would like nothing greater than for all of us to shut down and say, we're done, we can't go on, because we're mourning and we're grieving and we're hurting. You know what? You do have a time of mourning, but then you pick up those pieces, and through the Lord's help and His strength and His peace, you move on, because there's a world out there that needs Him. And those of us that have Him, we must share this hope, the hope of Jesus Christ, the healing of Jesus Christ. the healing that heals our hearts, it heals our minds, and sometimes the Lord chooses to heal our bodies. Sometimes he doesn't. But he wants us to serve, and we need to get out there, and we need to move on. We need to come together as a group. We need to pour into each other and encourage one another and love on one another. And you know, that's exactly what I did. I just showed up and I poured into these women. And at the end of the lesson, when I talked about Matthew 9 and the woman that Christ healed when she made her way through the crowd, she kept her eyes on Christ, she kept her focus on Christ, she came to Christ and she touched the hem of his garment, and you know what? He healed her. He healed her mind, he healed her heart, and he healed her physically and spiritually. Most importantly, he healed her spiritually. And he made her new, and he gave her the strength to go on. And you know what? He used her story, and she has a powerful story in Matthew 9. She has a great testimony, and many have come to know Christ because of her testimony. And so the hurting and the brokenness can be used, and the Lord can heal us, and he can use us, and he can allow us to have a powerful testimony and go out there and share the truth. And that's exactly what we did. And the woman in these two pictures, Elena, she walked forward after this lesson. She came to us and she said, I want that hope, I want that peace, I want that healing through Jesus Christ. And we led her through to the Lord that day. And it was very important for the women in that room who were broken to see another woman who was broken, who very much needed what they have, the truth, because the truth sets you free. And so we have a job to do. Our job is not done until the Lord comes and gets us or calls us home. And we need to move on in our brokenness, and the Lord will continue to heal us as we pour into the lives of others. And that's exactly what he's done for me. I know he'll do that for you. Another aspect of my ministry is to pour into the widows and the orphans. And you're looking at orphans in these two photos, and we pour into them because, number one, the Lord calls us to do that, and number two, they need it. They need us to show up for them. Orphans and widows are some of the most neglected people groups in the world, and yet the Lord loves them, and he calls us to serve them. And so everywhere we go, we host events and parties for the children. We do birthday parties for orphans and make them feel so loved and special. We spend time with them, and we have 27 children's homes with MANNA Worldwide Ministries around the globe. This is one of our homes in Severin, Romania. It's a mostly teenage orphan care home. We pour into these kids, and they know they're loved. In this particular church in Tinca, Romania, which is in the northern area of Romania, we have 3 MANNA nutrition centers. We have multiple church plants in this region. We have a STARS educational program for gypsy children. We built them a school because the government would not allow these gypsy children to attend the public school. So we built them a school, and we hired a wonderful teacher who knows the Lord, serves the Lord, and loves these gypsy children, and she pours into these kids, and they're receiving a better education in our school than they are in any other school in this region. We had our Women of Worth launch in this particular community, and I always find it interesting that the Lord chooses the hardest locations, the most poverty-stricken areas, where people are seen as the least of these, the gypsy population. That's where the Lord wants to show up. And that's where he shows up and does his work. That's where he really shows you what he can do. And we've seen the Women of Worth launch really turn this whole village around. And now the men are coming to church, the families are coming to church, And in a very abusive area, the Gypsy population, it's a very aggressive, abusive population. They're learning to love one another and live in harmony and live in love and live serving the Lord and honoring the Lord by honoring each other in their marriage. We also have a Rapha House children's home for orphans in this region. And now we're about to open the doors of our MANNA Medical Center, something that is so desperately needed for the Gypsy population, where we will be able to care for children like this little girl and children in our nutrition centers, of which MANNA's in 50 countries. We serve 14,000 children around the globe. We have 113 nutrition centers right now. This particular center in Tinca, Romania, feeds 125 children every single day. Those children need medical attention. And so the Lord gave us a building 6 years ago, this MANNA Medical Center, and we were able to pour some money into this building and to do renovations, including a new roof that we just finished in May. The doors of this medical center are now opening, and we're going to be ministering to the families by meeting their medical needs. This is my medical team in Tinca, Romania. Please pray for them, because this is a huge undertaking, and there will be many battles and a lot of work and efforts that go into this. So please pray for the medical team in Tinca, Romania. I'll be returning there in the spring, and we'll give an update on that as we see the needs being met. We also have projects in other areas of Europe, including Athens, Greece, where we focus on refugees who escape Iran and are smuggled into Athens, Greece, and they have nothing when they arrive. They are in need of food, they are in need of jobs, a place to live, and we're able to connect them and provide those for these people in need. But most importantly, they are in need of spiritual healing, and they are in need of the truth and the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we invite them into our church, Voice of Truth, and we share the truths found in God's word. And when they hear the truth, it sets them free, and they want it. And many of these Muslims are giving their hearts to Christ and following the Lord in baptism. Some of them will give their hearts to Christ and come back the next morning and say, we want to be baptized, we want to belong to Christ. And we offer Women of Worth activities for the women, a time for the women to come together and have sweet fellowship together. It always revolves around a meal, because it's important to meet their physical needs as well as their spiritual needs. And we do paint nights, and we provide opportunities for them to have sustainable income projects. They learn to make purses, they learn to make jewelry, they learn to make clothing, and of course they learn to budget and provide for their families. We offer WOW, Women of Worth leadership training, and these are just a few of my leaders in Europe. And I want to end with this picture of the ladies, the young girls in Smile House in Gorbovice, Ukraine. One of the girls in this picture, Elena, has a sponsorship to come to America. We provide opportunities for women and children and families all over the world to come to know Christ, but we meet physical needs and emotional needs, educational needs, mental needs. We bring whoever wants to come to America, if we can find a sponsorship for them and they desire to leave Ukraine, we now have sponsors that are willing to take them into their homes. And Elena will be moving to Kansas City, Missouri, and joining the church in that region that has offered to take her in, give her a job, give her a car, some startup cash to just provide a better life for her, and also an opportunity for her to share her story and touch the lives of people in that community. This is a partnership. We want to continue building partnerships between our prayer warriors, the churches, and the people in the churches that pray for our people overseas. We want to connect them in a very special way, and bringing Elena to this church is going to connect this church with everyone in Ukraine, in our Smile House. And it's a partnership that will continue to build and grow and thrive in the future. I'm about to head to Africa for Christmas, and that's another area in which the Lord has called me to serve. And I have materials about our Katamba project, which is a nutrition center and a school for 396 children in a poverty-stricken area of Nairobi, Kenya. And those kids, those families in this region need prayer warriors. They need financial support. They need people like me to go and see the needs and then come back to America and share those needs with my sponsors and my prayer warriors and my church partners. And so I ask you to pray for my ministries in Europe, but also pray for my ministry in Kenya as I get ready to go. If you're interested in learning more about our Africa ministry, you can contact me.